Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a question. How many of you have ever felt the need to prove yourself, to explain yourself, to make sure people know who you are and what you do? I get it. We live in a world where people judge quickly. They want to size you up in an instant, put you in a box, and decide if you're worthy of their attention. But today I want to tell people what you do. If you have to tell people how great you are, you've already lost. The greatest in any field don't spend their time announcing themselves. They simply show up and do the work. Because when your work is excellent, it doesn't need a microphone. Excellence is its own announcement. Look at the people who truly make an impact. They don't beg for attention. They don't chase validation. They don't walk into a room and list off their accomplishments like a resume. They just show up, do what they're called to do, and the world takes notice. Think about some of the most successful people in history. Did Michael Jordan go around telling people he was the greatest? No, he stepped onto the court and let his game do the talking. Did Mozart go around boasting that he was a genius? No, his composition spoke for him. And Jesus? He didn't go around shouting, "I am the Son of God." No, he just was. He healed, he taught, he loved. And people recognized the power in him without him having to prove anything. There's a story in the Bible about David. Before he became king, he was just a shepherd boy. When Goliath was standing in front of him, he didn't go around announcing, "Hey everyone, I'm about to be a warrior. I'm going to be the greatest king Israel has ever seen." No, he just picked up a slingshot, did what he was trained to do, and let the results speak for themselves. And after that, nobody questioned who he was. See, when you focus on your work, when you focus on becoming great at what you do, people will notice. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to convince them. Your results will be undeniable. We live in a time where everyone wants to post, announce, and declare what they're about to do. We see people making big promises on social media, but months go by and there's no fruit. Because talk is cheap. The people who spend their time talking rarely have time to be doing. Let me challenge you with this. Stop telling people what you do and just do it. Stop worrying about whether people recognize you. Stop stressing over whether they acknowledge your greatness. Because when you are truly excellent at something, they will notice. And even if they don't, keep going. Because at the end of the day, your work is not about their validation. It's about fulfilling the purpose God put inside of you. So don't chase recognition, chase results. Don't seek applause, seek impact. Don't announce, execute. And when you do that, you won't have to tell people what you do. They'll already know. There is a power in what is not said, a strength in what is not revealed. In a world where everyone is rushing to explain themselves, to prove their worth, to show their credentials, there is something different, something undeniable about the person who moves in silence. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest. Because real power doesn't need to be announced. When something is truly great, it doesn't have to convince you. It just is. Think about this. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone who keeps telling you how successful they are, how important they are, how many people they know, and yet somehow the more they talk, the less impressive they seem? That's because mystery is more powerful than explanation. The moment you start explaining yourself, you give people the opportunity to question you. The moment you start justifying who you are, you invite doubt. But when you walk in confidence, when you let your presence, your actions, and your results do the talking, you don't need to explain. Look at the most powerful figures in history. The ones who truly made an impact didn't feel the need to prove themselves. They just showed up and changed the game. They understood that when you are truly great, people will recognize it without you having to say a word. Think about Jesus. When he walked into a town, he didn't say, "Gather around, Let me explain who I am and why you should listen to me. No, he was the message. He healed the sick. He opened blind eyes. He calmed a storm, and people knew. The ones who had eyes to see and ears to hear recognized his power without him having to justify himself. And let's go even deeper. When Jesus was questioned, when people tried to trap him with words, he often responded with silence or a question of his own, because he knew something we often forget. Explanation weakens authority. When you explain too much, you give people control over your narrative. You let them dictate the terms of how they see you. But when you keep some things hidden, when you move in silence, when you let your work and your presence speak instead of your words, you create an undeniable mystique. Have you ever noticed how the most attractive people are often the ones who don't reveal everything about themselves at once? It's the mystery that draws people in, the curiosity, the unanswered question. That's because mystery creates intrigue, and intrigue creates influence. So let me ask you this. Why are you so quick to explain yourself? Why do you feel the need to clarify your intentions to people who may never understand you? Why do you rush to prove yourself to people who were never meant to see your full potential in the first place? Some people are not supposed to get you. Some people are not meant to understand your vision, and that's okay. Stop wasting your breath trying to explain what only time and results will prove. If you are walking in purpose, if you are doing what you were created to do, the right people will feel it. They will sense it. They will know it without you ever having to say a word. So instead of trying to convince people, just be. Instead of explaining, just execute. Instead of announcing, just show up. Because mystery is more powerful than explanation. And when you understand that, you'll stop trying to be understood and start becoming undeniable. Not everyone deserves to know what you're building. Not everyone is meant to see your strategy, your vision, or your next move. Because not everyone who listens is listening to support, some are listening to sabotage. We live in a world where people overshare. Every time they start a new project, they announce it. Every time they have an idea, they broadcast it. Every time they take a step forward, they document it for the world to see. And then they wonder why things aren't working out, why doors are closing, why opposition keeps showing up at the most inconvenient times. It's because some people don't deserve your blueprint. See, when an architect is designing a masterpiece, they don't hand the blueprints to just anyone. They don't post them on a billboard for the world to see. They protect them. They keep them secure. Because the blueprint is where the power is. If the wrong person gets access to it, they can steal it. They can distort it. They can even use it against you. This is what happened to Joseph in the Bible. God gave him a dream, a vision of his future, and instead of keeping it close, he shared it with his brothers. But what Joseph didn't realize was that not everyone around him was for him. Some of the people closest to him were actually the ones who would try to destroy him. They threw him in a pit. They sold him into slavery. They tried to stop what God was doing in his life. And why? Because he revealed too much, too soon. Some of us are frustrated right now, wondering why we're facing so much resistance, why people are turning against us, why we feel misunderstood. But the truth is, we gave access to the wrong people. We shared our dreams with those who were never meant to carry them. Some people are in your life just to critique, not to contribute. Some are there to monitor, not to motivate. Some are simply spectators, not supporters. And here's the thing. They won't always show you their true colors at first. Sometimes they'll pretend to be happy for you. They'll act interested. They'll smile in your face. But deep down, they're waiting for the moment they can tear you down. So what do? You protect your blueprint. You stop feeling the need to explain your next move. You stop announcing things before they're ready. You stop seeking validation from people who were never meant to understand your calling in the first place. Jesus understood this better than anyone. He didn't reveal his full identity to just anyone. He spoke in parables. He kept some things hidden. Even his own disciples didn't fully understand everything at first, because he knew that revelation comes at the right time, to the right people. So let me ask you, who has access to your blueprint? Are you sharing your dreams with people who will build you up or tear you down? Are you announcing your plans before they're fully developed? Are you giving your strategy to people who don't have the capacity to handle it? Because here's the truth, not everyone can handle your vision. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your next season. Not everyone deserves to know what God is doing in your life. Some things need to stay between you and God. Some moves need to be made in silence. Some victories need to be celebrated in private. Because when the time is right, the world will see what you've been working on. They will recognize the greatness inside of you. They will witness what God has built through you. But until then, protect your blueprint. You don't have to prove yourself to the right people. You don't have to convince them, chase them, or spend your energy trying to make them see your value. Because the right people, the ones meant to be in your life, to walk with you, to support you, to elevate you, will recognize who you are without you saying a word. We live in a world obsessed with validation. People want to be seen, acknowledged, and understood. They feel the need to explain themselves to make sure everyone around them knows what they bring to the table. But the truth is, if you have to force someone to see your worth, they were never meant to be part of your journey. Look at David. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David wasn't even invited into the room. His own father didn't see his potential. His brothers didn't believe in him. But when the time was right, Samuel recognized him, not because David made a speech, not because he listed his qualifications, but because the anointing was already on him. The right people will see you. They will recognize the calling on your life. They will sense the greatness inside of you, not because you advertised it, but because it is undeniable. You don't need to convince who is already convinced. Think about it. When you walk into a dark room and turn on the light, do you have to explain to people that the light is on? No. They just know. Light doesn't need an introduction. Neither does greatness. The right opportunities, the right relationships, the right people will be drawn to you because of the light in you. And if someone doesn't recognize it, that's not your problem. Stop spending your time to get people to see you when you were never meant to be seen by them in the first place. Stop begging for a seat at a table that was never built for you. Stop chasing people who don't have the capacity to value what you carry. Even Jesus wasn't recognized by everyone. Jesus himself walked among people who refused to see him for who he was. He performed miracles, healed the sick, fed thousands, and yet some still doubted. Some still asked, "Who is this man?" If Jesus, the greatest to ever walk the earth, wasn't recognized by everyone, why do we think we need to be? Some people will never see your value, no matter how much you explain, prove, or perform. And that's okay, because the ones who are supposed to recognize you will. The right doors open without force when you are aligned with your purpose. You don't have to force doors open, they open on their own. You don't have to beg for opportunities, they find you. You don't have to push to be seen, the right eyes will find you at the right time. Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and locked in a prison. He could have spent his life trying to explain his worth to people who didn't care, but he didn't. He just kept walking in his calling. And in due time, the right person, Pharaoh, recognized him and placed him in a position of power. Your job is not to explain yourself. Your job is to be excellent, to stay faithful, to walk in purpose. Because when you do, the right people, the right places, the right moments will recognize you without you ever having to say a word. So stop striving for validation. Stop seeking approval. Stop explaining your worth to people who were never meant to see it. Because the right people will recognize you without you saying a word. Some battles aren't meant to be fought with words. Some dreams aren't meant to be announced before they're realized. And some victories are only won in silence. We live in a culture where people love to talk. Social media has made it easy to share every thought, every move, every next step. People are quick to announce their goals, their plans, and their dreams. But what they don't realize is that the more you talk, the more you invite unnecessary resistance. Not everyone who hears you is happy for you. Not everyone who listens is listening to support. Some people are listening to stop you. Joseph talked too much, and it cost him. One of the greatest examples of this is Joseph. God gave him a dream, a glimpse of his future greatness. But instead of keeping it close, he ran to his brothers and told them everything. He talked about how one day they would bow before him, how he was destined for something greater. And what happened? Instead of celebrating him, they turned against him. Instead of supporting him, they plotted against him. They threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. Why? Because he talked too much. Now, was the dream still going to come true? Yes, was Joseph still destined for greatness? Absolutely. But his journey became much harder because he revealed too much too soon to the wrong people. Some of us are facing resistance right now, not because we're on the wrong path, but because we talked too soon. We revealed too much. We gave people ammunition that they never should have had access to. Some attacks are avoidable. There are battles that we are meant to fight. But there are also battles we invite into our lives simply because we couldn't keep quiet. When you announce your next move, you give the enemy time to prepare. When you reveal your strategy, you allow opposition to form against you. When you share your vision with the wrong people, you give them the chance to plant doubt, to discourage you, to sabotage what God is doing in your life. Some of the resistance you're facing isn't because the enemy is strong, it's because you made his job easier by revealing what should have remained hidden. Jesus knew when to stay silent. Jesus, the most powerful man to ever walk the earth, understood the power of silence. When he was on trial, when people falsely accused him, when they mocked him and questioned him, he stayed silent. He could have defended himself. He could have explained everything. He could have convinced the world in one moment. But he didn't. Because he knew that purpose doesn't need an explanation. Destiny doesn't need defending. Some things are only revealed in time through action, not words. Silence is a strategy. If you want to move effectively, you have to learn the strategy of silence. You have to know when to speak and when to stay quiet. Some things should only be discussed when they are finished. Some plans should only be shared after they are executed. Some dreams should remain between you and God until they come to pass. Because when you talk too much, you invite opinions, doubt, criticism, and resistance that could have been avoided. Keep your moves quiet, let the results speak. Think about the greatest leaders, innovators, and visionaries. They don't talk about what they're going to do, they just do it. And when it's done, the world takes notice. The people who spend all their time announcing their goals rarely achieve them, but the ones who move in silence, they let their success do the talking. So if you're working on something big, keep it to yourself. If God has given you a vision, protect it. If you have a plan for your future, guard it. Because not everyone needs to know. Not everyone deserves access. Not everyone is for you. And the less you say, the less resistance you invite. So move in silence. Work in the shadows. Let your results be the announcement. Because when you talk too much, you invite resistance, but when you let your work speak, no one can deny it.